We're not quite live yet. Just hang on.
No. Ooh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Witching Hour episode 2, where we're going to be talking about magic in spring. And a big welcome to my lovely guest, Krissy Elliott. Hi, Krissy. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Sarah. It's lovely to be here on such a beautiful day today.
Oh, it's been gorgeous, hasn't it?
Yes.
So Krissy here has been a practicing pagan for almost 40 years. She's a third-degree Wiccan high priestess with Gardnerian, Alexandrian and Roman initiated lineages. What an amazing lineage tree you've got there, Krissy.
I think you'll find that's just kind of how it's panned out. So it sounds very grand, but actually it's right place, right time, and lots of family trees and things drawn on pieces of paper and going, oh, okay then, it links to that and it links to that, etc., etc. So it sounds grand, but actually what it just means is that I've worked with different covens, different practitioners, and learned lots of different things, Sarah.
I think that's great. I really do. You describe yourself now though as a chaos witch, and you use whatever's to hand, whatever's suitable for your practice at the time. What's behind that? What would you say is chaos magic?
Well, chaos magic, according to books that you can buy on chaos magic, tend to link back to work of Osman Spare and people earlier in the 20th century. When I use the term, doesn't mean I'm working from a book. Well, actually, I'm using a term that people have thrown at me and, mud sticks, right? When it comes down to it, anyone who's involved as a chaos magic practitioner will say, you don't have to have the right tool for this and the right tool for this and that specific thing for that. You bring all your knowledge together and you use the right thing for the job. And that's how my witchery has turned out over the years. I remember I used to always I have to get this particular wood for this particular wand. And now I go, right, I have this piece of wood that is suitable for a wand. What are the properties of this wood and how is this going to influence things? So it's just about having that little bit wider knowledge and making use of things rather than deliberately. Sometimes if it's for a specific purpose, I will deliberately source things.
Yeah.
But otherwise, do you really think that the village witch was able to go onto Amazon or Etsy and go and buy stuff back in the 16th century? No. And everyday witchery is really what works for me. Yeah. So I just use what's to hand and sort of roll with it, really.
I hear you there. I use the label intuitive more than anything, because it's very much about what feels right. Yes. No matter what the books say, no matter what other people have taught me, it's about what I feel is right in that moment, according to what I've got to hand.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah, I could say intuitive witch, but people say chaos witch because whatever I'd love to be able to say, oh, yes, well, I'm a very gentle witch and things are neat and tidy when I do things. The fact of the matter is that I'm an agent of change. I understand that that's my role in this lifetime. I don't always like it, but I realise that sometimes where my magic is a little bit of mayhem, an awful lot of change, an awful lot of people going, what are you doing? Why have you done this? Why is this affecting me? And it's like, okay, I have to acknowledge that that's an effect that I have, but it does make change, and it usually makes positive change, however uncomfortable it is.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I'll just keep my head down. But I don't do so much of that now, because
that happens as we get older, doesn't it? We're more accepting of ourselves. We're more accepting of the things that we're here to do, even if they're not essentially light and fluffy on the outside. Let's face it, life isn't light and fluffy, and sometimes that's not what's needed.
Of course, that's the thing. So I really just roll with it. But, I have been openly accused of being a chaos witch, and I thought, well, I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I thought, do you know what? If the hat fits,
Absolutely. Wear it.
Oh, of course.
So you live in Glastonbury with a number of black cats. I think it depends on what day of the week it is, how many black cats you have.
No, there are three living with me at the minute. There were four, but somebody needed a cat, and one of my cats hadn't responded to moving house very well and was fighting with the other ones. So I looked to rehome her about the time somebody was looking for a cat, and I said, well, you can try her. She's a bit feisty. And apparently it's all sweetness and light in their house with this cat. So currently there are three, but then somebody will turn up with a kitten and say, this kitten needs a home, and I'll go, all right then, because I always do that when it comes to cats.
Yeah, got to take a little kitten in, really. Okay, Krissy. So if anyone's got any questions for Krissy, please drop them in the chat, and we will come to them at the end of this first piece. So we've got 3 segments for you today. First one we're going to be talking about magic in spring. What kind of magic works well for the season that we're in, what sort of tools and ingredients you can use for spring magic, and a few other things as well. Then we're going to take a little break and we'll be back. I'm going to review a lovely book called Labyrinth, Walking the Radiant Path by a lovely, beautiful soul called Lyn Brandwood. And then we're going to be answering the questions that I've had sent to me over the last week. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Please do feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the comments. I always love seeing your comments, and I'm looking at them here on my other screen so I can see that you are all here. I'm just going to refresh it actually because it keeps not showing me comments. Not keeping up with the thread. There we go. That's better. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Hannah. Lisa says she loves the sound of a chaos witch. And Hannah says, yeah, that's me. Anything goes.
Got to be. You're doing the work, whatever it looks like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've just had the spring equinox a couple of weeks ago, and we're fast moving towards Beltane, and there's definitely been a real shift in the air over this last couple of weeks. Certainly today the sun's been out, it's been glorious, there's a real warmth in the air. You can feel the movement in the air that's around, and it just feels like we're really moving towards some growth and some movement in nature. And for me as well, I don't know how you feel about how it's going at the moment, Krissy. You just said before we came on air that you've been in the garden today.
Yeah, it's the last maybe 2 to 3 weeks has been all about the garden. I moved house in October. So this year I've acquired a new garden. What that means is really laying the foundations for the structure of the garden, because you can't suddenly plant everything and suddenly expect to have something that would be on Gardener's World, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to look at it and you go, right, what's this garden Is this an extension of my house? Is it somewhere I'm going to grow food? And then look at building the structure. And I wanted somewhere where we could sit around and have a fire of an evening. So that would be a gravelled area so that I don't set fire to things unexpectedly. And I've got various issues with my spine and my hips. So I organised having some raised beds made from a guy on Facebook who makes it out of recycled wood.
Oh, fantastic.
Lovely, lovely bloke who's Tom. His name's Tom and he lives near me. And I found him just by looking on Facebook. But I'm really excited about recycling and not buying loads of plastic stuff for the garden. So for me, it's been about getting the structure in, deciding which bits are going to be doing what, and then thinking about what's growing. So there's a real sense of building. And I'm finding that in other areas of life as well. I think it's this feeling, you plant the seeds and you have the ideas, don't you, at Imolc?
Yeah.
And it's like that very first spark of ideas, very first spark of movement at Imolc. Well, now the winds have got up, the rains have got up, the weather generally has been really quite feisty.
It's been changeable, hasn't it?
Yes. changeable weather, but also it's been about movement. So it's about progress. So no longer are we sitting there sort of looking at a seed planted and waiting for it to think about germinating. The seeds are going now. They get, the daffodils are up, the snowdrops have been and gone, the daffs are up, everything's budding. And it's like that with your life. And I get that real sense of energy, bit of chaos at the equinox times because of the change and the weather and the tides and all of this. But then it's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's hurtle towards Beltane. Let's have some movement coming out of that cold winter time when you've been curled up in your blankets and not going very far. Yeah, let's get outside. Let's do things. Let's pull plans out of the hat, push them forward, get things moving. Yeah. And that a real sense of that. And today I was just out there in the garden and digging things up with my hands and generally getting filthy, and it was fabulous. Really close to all that growth and that feeling with the sun on your back, and brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, Nick says, been with you there. She's been in the garden today, creating areas, planting, tending, and healing. So how do you connect personally with the change in season that we've got at the moment? I mean, we're really sort of digging into spring now, but how do you connect with the change of season as we're starting to head on into spring now? How do you connect between winter and spring? How do you manage that? How do you feel that happening for yourself?
Well, I kind of feel as winter comes to a close, I feel really a sense of, like the world's holding its breath.
Yeah.
I get that. And I feel it. And you don't always know that's what it is. So you wonder why you're feeling a bit odd.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I can absolutely feel odd. Plenty of the different kind of odd. A kind of something you can't quite put your finger on. And then what will happen is the weather will do something and it'll do something unexpected. And it's always the weather. So it's always that sharp hailstorm or sudden winds, and I just go, hang on a minute, we're changing. Yeah. And I can literally feel it. So I feel a bit like a tree that's being battered by the weather at this time of the year, because it's quite visceral. But
it is, isn't it? It's a bit of a raw feeling. It's almost like because you have been covered up all winter, like you said earlier, you've been snuggled up, you've been under blankets, you've been warm in your home, and all of a sudden you want to get out, you want that fresh air, but it feels quite raw.
Yeah. And actually the wind this last week has been pretty chilly. So when the sun has been breaking through, the sun is getting warmer, but that wind is still chill. So you're out there, you want to stretch yourself up into the sunlight, but you're feeling that chill wind and it's a bit, So really, you're absolutely on the nail. It is a little bit raw. We do feel a little bit vulnerable. And people I've been speaking to, things have been changing in their lives. And quite a lot of people are just feeling a bit vulnerable at the minute. Yeah. Change is what I find anyway, is that at times of the equinox, you think, this is a time of balance. And then suddenly it's a time of massive change.
Yeah.
So in everyday life, stuff changes. So you're trying to deal with that raw feeling of being drawn by nature. But meanwhile, your everyday human life is throwing spanners at you all the time. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting. The thing that's come up for me time and time again recently has been a sense of community.
Yes.
And I've found that where people are feeling vulnerable, having that sense of community is making it so they're okay. And I think that's something I'm hoping that we'll be more and more focusing on when we've all been so separate for such a long time. Drawing those communities together again is so important.
I think spring's a great time for that to be happening as well, isn't it? When people are getting out of their houses, they're going to see more people, they're socializing more. It's certainly, you feel more like it at this time of year, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And just doing things in the front garden, talking to neighbours who I know are there. Yes. But I moved in October. So we've had the winter, so I haven't actually seen any of them.
Yeah.
Really, I know they're there because the cars come and go and you occasionally hear a noise here and there. Yeah. But for the most part, I haven't really seen any of them.
Yeah.
So I've been doing bits and pieces outside, and people have been walking past and saying hello, and I'm realizing that they're going in and out of houses, so we are actually neighbours. So interestingly, it's a real sense of, I live in a cul-de-sac now, which is fabulous because people don't just drive past. People only come down here if they've a reason to.
Yeah.
And that means that people are coming down, parking up or whatever, walking down, going into the houses or visiting people, and a smile and a, hi, how are you doing? If they're just a visitor, it makes them feel welcome in the street. And if they live here, we're building these connections, aren't we?
Yeah, which I think is great. Absolutely great. Hannah says that she's happy to see her pear tree blossom this year. She was worried it was a goner last year as there wasn't anything.
All right, brilliant. No, I have a plum tree that's looking suspiciously like it may be dead.
Oh,
but
no.
I planted it anyway because it may not be. The apple tree's having a valiant go at putting a few leafy shoots out. But to be fair, if anything, I mean, all the things were thrown in pots over the winter because I moved them, and there was no way I was going to plant them in winter after they've been moved already. So I sort of kept them in a sheltered spot, and I just sort of thought, okay, we're past the worst of the frost, and I got some mulch to put around them and thought, right, go on, in you go. And the apple tree's looking grand, but the plum tree's just being twiggy.
We'll be asking you in a few weeks' time then how that's going.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, it'll be all over my Facebook if there's anything coming out of that plum tree at all. A leaf would make me happy at this point.
Okay, so how do you really tap into the energy of spring for your own personal growth? How do you pull that energy into your own personal practice and your own personal development?
Well, as soon as I see shoots coming up, so that's before the snowdrops even come out, really, I go, ooh, green leaves, alive, living, moving, expanding green leaves. And that's a signal to me, right, okay, you've been, if you like, in hibernation as much as you could get away with. If nature's expanding, now maybe you should think about maybe putting a toe out of the blanket.
Yeah.
And at that point, quite often during winter, you know, I stop having complex rituals that I do, and you end up doing sort of kind of quite quiet and basic things. And so what I tend to do is go, all right then, okay, what's the moon doing? When this sort of comes to me, I think, right, okay, let's have a look at all the influences. So I tune into it and I look at what the moon's doing. So is it a dark moon? Is it full moon? Is it waxing or waning? Because I tend to go on the basis of the time that it occurs to me that it's time for me to start springing.
Yep.
There's usually a message in there as the phase of the moon as well. So then I'll look at what my life's been doing. So for example, if I got that feeling at a waning moon, then I would be going, right, okay, what are you going to get rid of? To move forward and to step into the spring, what do you need to shift?
Yeah.
And if it occurs to me at a full moon, I go, right, you get the candles lit and you put your glad rags on and you call to the gods and goddesses, girl, get those candles on, the incense on, and just go for it. Do a ritual and see how you feel. You get, pull out all the stops. And if it's a dark moon, then it'll be a deeper meditation, something darker, something quieter, but with a light.
Yes.
And it's just looking at that, looking at where it lands, because there's a message in it for me. I'm absolutely convinced. So, and that's when I start thinking, right, in my life, I start moving. And then, yeah, in the garden, every year in the garden, I think, oh, right. So maybe we'll get those seeds out, and we'll maybe get a propagator going, and then maybe I'll order a ton bag of gravel, and then I'll do this, and it gets momentum, and it's so wonderful because you suddenly start that push to feeling alive again. Yeah. And that's magical. And yeah, okay, I'm a gardener. I'm not the world's best, but my garden is some days when I'm having trouble walking or my back's really painful, I can't go trekking out into the woods and stuff. I'm not fit for it, right?
Yeah.
The nearest bit of outdoors and nature is right outside my door.
Yes.
So I started doing the garden, lifted some pavers at the front, I'll tidy it up a bit, and I found a nest of slow worms.
Oh, lovely.
And I'm sure they were absolutely disgusted with me.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
Because they were obviously quite snuggly and they had baby ones, and it was brilliant. I was so excited because I've never properly seen one up close.
Oh, wow.
So I just sort of went, I'm really sorry to have taken the roof off your house, but that paver's got to go. So I moved one and one broke. So I piled it up nearby, and one by one off they all slithered into this pile of sort of earth that had moved and a few lumps of paver. And so I thought, right, okay then. So I left all that there. And I've planted a couple of little alpines in the various pockets of earth in the mound. And I'm leaving it there because they've obviously shifted sideways to go have somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fine by me. So the front garden's a bit tidier. Meanwhile, I know that lump of stuff over there houses a family of slow worms, and I think that's fab.
It is. It is. That's excellent. So, as you're someone who explores different traditions, how have you found that practices differ, and what sort of beliefs and rituals have you come across around spring?
Well, this is the thing, because I live in Glastonbury, there's always lots of things to go to.
Yeah.
There are not as many open air rituals perhaps as there used to be. And currently I'm also looking after a coven over in Colchester in Essex.
Yes.
So it's amazing what you do, amazing what you can do with Zoom, I find, actually.
It is, yeah.
It is possible to be present in a ritual through Zoom, but you have to be pretty confident, I think, to be able to project into it that way.
Yeah.
But what I've really found is that the focus on balance tends to appear across lots of different traditional paths because it's so linked to the equinox and that equal time of light and dark.
Yes.
So actually, if you can tune into that and consider balance within your practice and your behaviours as best you can, okay? So that means moderation rather than giving up everything, which pleases me, which means I can have a glass of mead or I can have a chocolate bar, just not all of the mead and all of the chocolate bars, yeah? But that sense of balance, you find a focus across different faith groups. And you'll talk to somebody who's Wiccan and they're maybe thinking about, right, okay, what are we going to do for this ritual for that particular time, focusing on balance? You'll talk to somebody who's Norse and they don't even follow that wheel of the year, but they are very tuned into the land.
Yeah.
And the land wights and the spirits of the land. So they're also in that place where they're aware about that time of balance. So things like equinoxes and solstices are great because it doesn't actually matter.
There's a connecting theme, isn't there? Across,
it is,
yeah.
And it's natural. So that means that all the different paganisms that we run into and we can find will generally tap in to those particular times of the year and what the earth is doing and what the day and the night are doing. So it means that people from lots of different groups can get together and have common themes. Again, it's that sense of community. And then we might celebrate differently for different, say, Sabbats in the year. You know, what would you, what one group might do for Beltane might not be the same for another. Or, you know, maybe Wiccans might not celebrate Winter's Night in the same way that a Norse pagan does. But it actually doesn't matter because there are these places where we can all come together through the year anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I've got a question from Hannah for you.
Okay.
So Hannah says, do you think chaos magic is more likely to be practiced by older people because we care less about what people think?
I think any magic is likely to be practiced more openly by older people because we care less about what people think. And we also realise that all those years of trying to fit in with what people think was a bit of an epic fail, really, because if you are naturally inclined to following a pagan path, if you are naturally inclined to working with magic, you are naturally probably not going to fit in with, when you're younger, all these groups that you want to be part of, you're not going to fit right. I think when we get a bit older, it's easier to look at what you want to do and say, actually, sometimes stuff everybody else.
Yeah.
So when it comes to chaos magic by the book, you might have younger people who are looking for a structure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as you get older, you realize that human structures are a construct.
Yes.
And they're not natural. And so you have to learn it. And if it doesn't sit right, you have to learn to it. All of these things are great when you're learning. They're really important, because without structure, you do have actual chaos.
Yes.
And you won't learn because you won't be focused enough.
Yes.
So by working with the structures, I think, I think it's got a lot of merit. And I would tell everybody, please go and learn a thing, go and learn a system, learn all of it, and then say, well, that's not really for me, but learn it first. As you get older, you're kind of like, well, I learned that. And actually that works with a little bit of that, and you don't worry so much about whether you do it right and whether somebody's going to turn around and say to you, well, you haven't done that right, because actually, you know that what's right for you is the right way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a little bit of that good lesson that we can all learn as we're growing older, in that you've got to learn the rules before you can break them.
Absolutely. I'm always interested in that. Tell me what the rules are. I'm going to break them, but I will show that I can adhere to them first. Yeah. So I've learned what I need to know. But when I was younger, I wanted to break rules. I wanted to do things differently. And I didn't learn a lot for a while. It was only when I really started applying myself to Wicca. And then later on, I joined the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, which is the magical group founded by Aleister Crowley, which kind of was the precursor, if you like, to before Gardner created Wicca. And there was quite strict rules within that. Now, it wasn't somewhere I remained because I realised it wasn't the right path for me. But I went through initiatory experiences by the book, so I could understand the roots of the Wicca that I'd already worked with. So then when someone said to me, can you, and it only became apparent later when I was asked to look after this coven, that by learning all that stuff, I do bring something to the table, because I would never have said, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. I would have said, well, just get on with it, me. That's what I do. But when people asked, I realised I had the skills, because I'd been applying myself in that way. So I'm a great believer in learn the thing, then absolutely throw it out of the window if it's not right for you, and glue it with something else that is right for you. Yeah,
absolutely. So one final question for you then, Krissy. What advice would you give to new witches about spring, seeing as I know we've got a few watching? New witches, spring feels amazing. That sense of life is brilliant. So if you are following a training course path, you're running with certain rituals and all of these things, and you're early in the learning process, get outside. Get outside. If you think you're going to do a certain ritual, say for the full moon, go and sit in the garden instead. Try and get your hands dirty. Which, if you've got a beautiful manicure, have you got a beautiful manicure today? I have.
Look, I've really got gardener's hands at the minute, guys. I'm really sorry. They'll look beautiful next week when I've finished my first planting. But seriously, get out there and get some dirt in your hands. Put your hands on the trees. Smell the flowers if they're there. Primroses have got quite a strong smell if you get up close to them. But connect with that, because everything that you're doing is great learning, but it doesn't matter what system you're using, nature will always be there, and that wheel will keep turning. And if you can tune in for that, you can use it to guide you as to where your learning goes next. And I would just say, outdoors, Outdoors.
Great advice, I think, Krissy. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break now, and then when we come back, I'll be reviewing Lyn Brandwood's book, Labyrinth, Walking the Radiant Path. Thank you, Krissy. We'll see you again in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. So this week's review is a book that I was given after chatting with one of the teams that I look after in the PF, and we were talking about labyrinths, and he told me that his wife had written a book about labyrinths, and I was like, I've got to read that. So he sent me a lovely copy which has been signed by Lyn, and I took great delight in having a good look at this. Labyrinths really fascinate me, and the effects that they can have on our mindset and the way that we feel and see the world. So it was an absolute pleasure to read this book, I have to say. It's a little piece of treasure, and it is quite a small book. There's only nearly 100 pages in it, but it's a delight. It really is. So it takes you through the benefits of walking a labyrinth, and what you can gain from walking a labyrinth, and then it tells you a little bit about labyrinth etiquette as well, which I'm just going to read for you here a second. So labyrinth etiquette. Lyn advises that before entering and upon leaving the labyrinth, she asks that you bow 3 times, once for the journey you have taken, once for the journey you are taking, and once for the journey that you will take. So when someone is standing at the center and you're walking around them, please make sure that you pause and walk in respect to their time. People walking in have priority. The person walking out steps to one side, steps between the worlds, and then steps back onto their path once the other person has passed by. And at the end of your walk, try to reverse out of the labyrinth before making your 3 bows again. So there we go, some little advice for walking a labyrinth. And there's some great sections in this book. She really has covered lots of different things in it. So there's several different walks that she takes you on all the way through it. My favorite have to be the elemental path working and the walk that follows it, and especially the dragon one as well, the dragon path working and the dragon walk, where you get to meet your dragon guide, which is I did the path working, but I haven't worked the labyrinth yet, which I must do. But there's sections on the elements, on chakras, on crystals, on finding your power animal. There's some goddess walks included in it. There's a section as well for the Sabbath walks as well, which I think when I host the ritual that I host at summer solstice with my friend Joe, who will be our guest next week, we might look at doing the solstice pathwork and maybe even set up a labyrinth of our own on the hill there, and have a go at that. But I can highly recommend this book. It's published by a lovely publisher who are based in Poland, and they have a wealth of books on witchcraft and various spiritual things that you might be interested in. I'm going to post a link in the comments now. If you would like to go and buy a copy of Lyn's book, this is where you can get it from. And please do explore the site while you're there. There's some great books by some lovely independent authors who could always do with a bit more support. So on to our Q&A for the evening. Now, I have been asked quite a few really good questions this week, so let's get to it. So the first question that I got, in fact, no, this is a question that I've got today, and I'm going to see what Krissy thinks to this. So what magical intentions work particularly well at this time of year?
Ooh. Speaking from experience, it's a really good time to apply for new jobs. Mm-hmm. It really is, because the world around you is expanding, so can you. And so you're mirroring that natural expansion. If you think the best way to get results magically the way you want is to work, rather than going against the grain, is to work with what nature puts in front of you. So if you've got that feeling of expansion and the earth around you is starting to move and starting to grow, now's a good time for you to look at growing too. And growing can mean many, many different things. It could mean taking up a new personal practice and saying, do you know what, I'm going to do this maybe for a period, maybe till midsummer, I'm going to meditate for X amount of time each day. We all know that we should try and do that. We also know that a lot of the time we don't do that. Okay. We spend far more time scrolling on our phones or whatever, something like that, even if it's only 5-10 minutes a day, sets your intention. And so rather than having sort of germinating ideas, now it's about an action that will allow the intention to flow. Yeah. That's what I think spring, it's there. It brings that availability for us to move forward. Not really speedy. Speedy is that Beltane up to midsummer energy. Whoa, yeah. Right now, this is the getting it going energy.
Yeah, I think it's, you're right. It's a great time for things like applying for a new job or finding a new hobby. You know, the thoughts that you've had over winter, the seeds that were planted, then the things that you were thinking about, really now is the time to start acting on them, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Thank you. So the second question that I got in this week was, are there any particular kinds of magic that work well in the spring? And I know for me, at this time of year, I like working with my breath because, of course, the season links to the element of air. So I like using my breath to send things out, to make things happen, to express ideas, to bring thought manifest, if you like. Is that a similar thing for you, Krissy?
I will say actually something I work with runes quite a lot, and I do various different things at various different times with them. So I might use them in a ritual setting. I might use them for setting intent, make a composite rune that pulls together all the different features that I would need. I do like sounding the runes. And at the Southwest Pagan Federation conference, there was an absolutely brilliant talk by Duncan White, who was talking about how to engage with the runes and how to make the sounds. And I thought it was just interesting because, again, it was that time of the year, but I agree with you. It's about the breath. And by making the sounds of the runes and the runes having particular meanings, if you are thinking about moving forward, then singing the runes while you maybe stick a post-it note with your runes on while you're doing a job application. And then, when you're sitting there and you've got that blank moment, sit and sing the runes. Let the breath move. Yes. Because if the breath moves, then your mind moves with it.
Yeah,
that's a really great sort of small practice. It doesn't have to be a huge deal.
Yes.
But on a personal level, I find there's something really clearing about making sounds with deliberate magical intent.
Yes.
So you might not be expecting to change the world by sounding a rune. Fehu, the first rune in the Elder Futhark, its meaning is wealth, cattle.
Yes.
But when it comes to wealth, that doesn't always necessarily mean having more money in your pocket. It might do, but actually, if you were in a Nordic culture, you would have however many cattle you managed to keep alive. That showed you success. So to me, for example, wealth is about job satisfaction.
Yes.
It's about moving into, say, a role that would make me satisfied. If I get more money, bonus. But sounding that rune, singing it while I'm typing, sorting out a job application, it makes me think more about the wealth I will get as a result of being successful. Absolutely. And it's just pulling these things together. It's so very much chaos witchery, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think one thing I will give an honourable mention here for Spring Magick as well is working with feathers, especially feathers that have dropped on your path, because I think they're especially important. The ones that fall at your feet are the ones that will hold the most for you. Certainly feels that way to me.
I agree.
So yeah. So the next question that I was asked was, how do you choose tools and ingredients for a spell?
This is where actually, Google is my friend.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of books with a lot of correspondences for various different things in, whether it's planetary, herbs, crystals, things like that. That's a lot of books. And sometimes you can't necessarily think, which book do I need to? And Google is my friend. I'm not going to lie, because
it can be quite overwhelming, can't it, when you have a wealth of information like that at your fingertips?
Literally, I actually do, because I have read the books and I've got half an idea vaguely what correspondences are, but
yes.
I'm with the best will in the world, I'm not an encyclopedia. I don't think very many people are.
No.
So it's okay to Google the magical properties of a particular crystal, say, particularly if you're really feeling that might be a thing.
Yeah.
So it's about looking at your intuition. What's that feeling in your gut? And what have you got? Because, for example, if you're there and you've got a twig, which will work as a wand, and you have a crystal, you need to think about, what's my intent? What do I actually want to do? What are the magical properties of these, and what can I do with them?
Yeah.
And it's okay to have a bit of a Google and go, is that in the ballpark of what I want to use this for? Yeah. Because if it isn't, then put it to one side and think, okay, so what would be in the ballpark?
Yeah,
And,
I think this,
and it's broad, isn't it? Because it's what resonates with you as well.
it is. I was just going to say that. I think there's something to be said as well for, it might be that, you know, someone will say, you know, the magical property is this, but for you, it doesn't resonate in that way. It feels
Yeah.
different, and that it might have a different property to you as you're working with it and how you feel about it. And I think that's really important for people, especially new witches, to understand, is that although there are all those books and there are the, you know, all that reference material is available on the internet, and that's a really good resource. And you know, if something really is unsuitable for what you're trying to achieve, then maybe, you know, leave that alone. But I think there's also this real tangible changeable quality to things where, you know, for example, the color blue to me is means, you know, life and spring, but to someone else it might mean sadness and not feeling very good. So I think there's this real sort of understanding as well that when you're choosing those ingredients, it might not be what the books say.
I agree. Although to be fair, that is interesting what you say with the colour blue there, because I would look at that and I would say, okay, where am I in this moment when I'm approaching the colour blue? So if today the colour blue makes me feel blue, sad,
yeah,
right. If the colour blue has presented itself, then I will look at what that might tell me.
yes.
So instead of saying, oh, well, the colour blue makes me feel miserable, it's like, where am I today? Does it always make me feel miserable? So do I need to be making a change?
Yeah.
And of course, magic is causing change in accordance with will.
Absolutely.
And change starts here. So, you know, one of the first things that any good witch does is you learn to look yourself in the eye, know thyself.
Absolutely.
Know what's going on for you. And if that's hard, then I would always say, get someone to talk to about that. Because if looking at yourself is hard, you know, you will always be there for you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You know, you need to be able to get on well with you. And I've had a couple of really great counsellors throughout the years who've helped me look at what I was doing and helped me look at myself when I wasn't doing a very good job of looking at myself. If you engage with that process, then when the colour blue presents and it makes you feel sad, the message might be something needs to change so that you can feel that sense of life.
Absolutely.
It is the flip side, because it's always worth having a look, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. So then I was asked, what is it I wish more people understood about witches? And of course, the first thing that came to my mind, Krissy, was that we're not bad people. But I'm sure there's more that we can come up with to answer this question. So what are your thoughts on this one?
I run into this quite frequently, and all I ever want to say is, what you're scared of. Yeah. Tell me what you're scared of, and I'll tell you if we do that. Actually, the biggest issue is that people don't know what they don't know, but they fear what they don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the thing. The one thing would be for people to not be afraid to find out, because actually every witch I have ever met has been lovely. Yeah. You know, and the fact that, you know, I think the world is very changeable at the minute, and in some quarters they're finding it even harder than ever to accept things like equality and diversity, because the world has changed so much. These people are wobbling a bit on their own axis.
Yes.
But nevertheless, we should always ensure that people are given the information to make the right choices about people. But it can be challenging, because I would just say, don't be afraid.
Yeah, completely agree. What about you folks in the comments? Let us know, what would you like people to understand more about witches? And our last question for this evening, because we are only 10 minutes to the end of the show, is do I believe in deity, and are they a part of my practice? So for me personally, for the longest time, deity wasn't a thing for me. And then I was pretty much harassed by Morrigan to to follow her and to work with her, and I tried to ignore her for the longest time, but it wasn't happening. And then as I was working with the Morrigan, Odin showed his face as well, and made it clear that
he does that.
Yeah, that he was going to be a part of my world. So yeah, for a long time deity wasn't a thing for me, and in some respects it still isn't. But those two in particular have made their presence very well known. So and I'm not one to ignore them when they shout. So I've learned that lesson. But working with other deities still really isn't a thing for me. They're my two, and they're where I feel drawn to, and I'm not necessarily drawn to other deity. How do you feel about that, Krissy?
Well, I've had, with all the training that I had within Wicca, that depending upon the coven, there were sort of very specific. Initiatory Wicca tends to have Herne or Cernunnos as your god, and often Hecate as the witch's goddess.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, right. So while I was learning, I just kind of went along with that, and I didn't feel much of anything because I didn't want to worship anything, and I was quite resistant to that. So some of this was like really theoretical learning, yeah?
Yes.
And so for a while I did step away from Wicca, and I started digging in the garden more and doing and sort of exploring things more. And then I moved over to the OTO, where deity isn't really a thing.
Yes.
But self-responsibility is.
Yes.
And that was interesting. And then I got woken up in the middle of the night one night and found that I had to commit to work with Hecate solely for a year. Not Hecate as a witch's goddess, but as somebody holds a torch up for the people so they can see.
Yes.
Hecate phosphorus with the two torches.
Yes.
And I was kind of like, okay, I don't know a lot about this. So I had to go away and do some reading and things like this, and had some dealings with people at the Covenant of Hecate and things like this, so that I could learn more, and found in my daily life that it was all about showing people things.
Yes.
Then, oh, have a look at this. And it was obviously linked to what I needed to be doing in my everyday life. And then after a year, it kind of petered off. And I was like, well, okay, but I will always be prepared to work with you. And I was sort of like, well, I don't know where I'm at with deity, actually. And then a few summers ago, minding my own business, Odin threw my bins down the street on a hot sunny day with no wind. My bins and the contents were all down the street, and I knew it was him. It wasn't like I had a Odin or something yelling, but it might as well have been. It was really, really peculiar. And at that time, Norse gods were really trendy, and the Thor movies were out, and everyone was all excited about Vikings. And I thought, really, this is not going to be a good look for me right now. Really? And it was just, you will investigate this. You will look at the writings. You will look at the teachings. You will look at the idea of sacrifice and hanging upside down from a tree for 9 days to be able to get the knowledge of the runes. And where does that reflect? And sometimes, yes, things like that do mean sitting in a job that's really quite boring until you've got the knowledge to be able to do the next thing. Yeah. And I started finding it reflected in my life. And then the whole chaos witchery bit came up when I found myself having to work with Loki. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, you can't work with Loki. And he's just an agent of change. Yes. It's just that he gets a bad rap.
Absolutely. Although you know, in the tales, he is quite a mischievous thing.
Absolutely.
I love the stories of Loki.
Me too. But if you look at what happens, he makes stuff happen.
He does.
By the result of his little tricks he plays and everything.
Yes.
Without him doing that, there wouldn't be the story.
No, absolutely.
And so he's not generally the main protagonist in the story. He's usually, you know, shoving somebody else to do something. And I find that quite interesting. And I find that really interesting energy to work with, because instead of thinking, oh, well, I need to be the boss of a thing or at the front of a thing, I find it's been a useful lesson to learn how much change you can affect by encouraging somebody else to do something.
Yeah,
for
example.
Absolutely. So I don't work with a specific deity, full stop. I work with what is presented, and I think over time your intuition does develop, and you get these signals and you roll with them, and that's actually what I tend to do. And I seem to have done all right so far, but watch this space in case I do upset anyone.
Hannah says on this, she thinks they come to you when it's time, and I think I certainly agree with that.
I would agree, yes.
The Morrigan showed her face at a time when I really needed to be almost warrior-like.
Yes.
And then Odin came when I was looking for new information, for new learning, for new paths, for new things to bring into my world and my practice. And I think they're both very relevant times for those two deities, particularly to pop up and let their presence be known. And yeah, you definitely can't ignore them when it's time, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it was the same for me. It really showed me the direction I needed to take, the influences of those deities, and just literally going, okay, I have this feeling about this deity. Let's do the reading. Let's see what that points to in my life experience. Yeah. And it's very direct for me. It maps straight across. It's like a no-brainer when you clock what it's trying to tell you. You go, all right then.
Yeah.
But I find that learning to do that and being flexible enough to do that and to hear when deity calls.
Yes.
That's key, really, isn't it? Because that's when you can work the best with any deity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agreed. So that's it for now. We are done with today's questions and we're at the end of today's show, episode 2. Over with. Oh, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we'll be talking about celebrating Beltane. I'll be reviewing this amazing little book, which I can't wait to get my eyes into, 21st Century Fairy by Morgan Daimler. And as usual, I'll be answering all of your questions. This will be available on YouTube tomorrow. And next week, we will also be welcoming guest Jo Alvey. She described herself as an eclectic pagan witch with almost 30 years experience as a healer medium, clairvoyant and magical practitioner. She's from Nottinghamshire, and I adore this lady. We run a public solstice, summer solstice ritual together in Nottinghamshire, and I can't wait for you to meet her next week. So have fun, everyone. Have a great week. Enjoy the wonderful sunshine we've got forecast for this week, and I will certainly be in my garden tomorrow. Trimming my lavender bushes and planting some chamomile and all sorts of lovely things. I can't wait. So have a great week, and I will see you all next week. Look out for the replay on YouTube. I'll let you all know on my wall when it's ready and waiting. Thank you, everyone. Have a magical time.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Krissy.
Bye.